Welcome to the Make Each Click Count podcast. This is your host, Andy Spleichel. We are happy to welcome this week's guest to discuss today's topic, which is lessons learned through a life of e-commerce. Today's guest is the president and founder of Ecommerce Growth Strategies. He is an accomplished, results-oriented, data-driven professional with 16 years of experience in e-commerce strategy, digital marketing, and e-commerce marketplaces. He has proven ability in generating increased revenue and widening brand exposure for multiple brands. A big welcome to Michael Hixson. Hi, Michael.
Hi, Andy. Glad to be here.
Hey, we're excited to have you. Now, I was fascinated when I was reading your story. It's very similar to mine. As you grew a company in the early to mid 2000s, you sold it, and then you went on to open your own agency, begin your own agency. For listeners, can you give us a quick recap of your story?
Yeah, back in late 2005, I was ready to start a business, and I had other businesses, and I thought an online business would be a great way for me to work from home, control my work environment, and work the hours that I wanted to work. So I started thinking about different niches and looking into different avenues of what my business could be. But I had already run like a baby proofing service for a while. So I knew the baby proofing industry.
Baby proofing.
Baby proofing. So that's putting in baby gates and child safety latches and all that kind of stuff to protect your toddler from harm. So I finally decided to go into that niche because I knew all the suppliers, I knew all the players in that industry, and I knew that the people that had competing websites were trying to sell their services. They weren't trying to sell products. So I just learned as much as I could about e-commerce, and then I started building my website and launched in early 2006, and it just took off and grew like crazy. There wasn't much competition as in the niche as I knew, and it just grew like crazy. And after like 4 years, I became a top 1,000 online retailer. It just grew so much. Yeah.
Nice. Now, when you started this baby proofing company, I mean, you worked it, so you were able to identify the niche there. So I think it's a good place. But I mean, did you validate the idea that selling it for people to do themselves was going to work, or did you just, have a feeling?
Yeah, I did, because I knew that the clients I had from the service tended to be higher ticket clients. They had more money, but I knew that the products themselves weren't that expensive and that you could do it yourself. So I thought that, it would be good to sell it directly instead of having to chase, a high ticket client. And that proved to be right. And, just the growth, and it just took off. And so, yeah.
So you did it just on a hunch, or did you go out and do any surveys or anything like that?
Well, I knew from having done the service already that
the people that were asking to be able to.
Yeah, because I did it for like a year as a service in Chicago when I lived in Chicago. So for me, I already knew that niche. Yeah.
So back in 2005, I mean, that's before Shopify. So I'm curious, what e-commerce platform were you using back then? What did you launch on?
I don't even remember the name of what I launched on, but shortly thereafter, I went to this cool platform called Zuvi. And I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It was a small player, but they had really cool technology. So with Zuvi, I could connect to Amazon and sell. I could connect to eBay. I could connect to all these different portals without having to get a service or another software. They had just built out all these connections to all these marketplaces. And so I could advertise, I could get listed in these markets and grow in all these different channels within the same platform. They didn't make it. They folded after a while, but it was a great place to be. And I'm really glad I started there and built my business.
It seems similar to what Shopify has going now.
Yeah, I think um, in some respects it was, but I think Shopify depends on a lot of third-party apps for their
Yeah.
functionality, where this was built into the platform. And if you wanted to integrate, with a 3PL, which I did at one point, they just built it out for me. They charged me, but like they had developers to do stuff for you. So it was kind of unique at that time, and it was kind of cool. Yeah. And then, I migrated to BigCommerce, and then, I eventually ended up working in Shopify, which I like a lot better. Yeah.
So when you were selling and marketing in the mid to late 2000s, what were some of the main marketing channels you were using to acquire customers?
Okay. So I started Google Ads like in 2006 or 2007.
So that would have been
And
before shopping. So it would have been Google search ads.
yeah, Google search ads. And so I just learned, primarily, I learned everything I needed to do because I was bootstrapping. I didn't have a big budget. And so I just learned and applied because I didn't know anything starting out. And so I learned how to do Google ads. Back then, there was much less competition too.
Mhm.
So I could get very affordable ads and convert at a very affordable price just because of the lack of competition back then. Over time, it got much worse and worse and worse. And the Google ads got much more complex. And eventually I hired my managers, I outsourced it. But I used Google, there used to be like comparison shopping engines,
Shopping.com, Price Grabber,
Shopzilla, Price Grabber.
Shopzilla.
Yeah, all those things from way back then. And Zuvi ported into those things. So I used that. I used Facebook. I would do Facebook ads. That was a little further down the road.
I was thinking,
And
I didn't even think you could run Facebook ads in the mid 2000s.
yeah, I think that was further down the road.
Yeah.
As I remember. But yeah, so I use the shopping comparison engines and just all the different channels. Like I got into Sears, I got into things like that. So, and I also try to, build out my content and attract visitors from search and, that kind of thing. So have good organic rankings as well. So
I was going to ask that. Did you spend a lot of time with the SEO? Because it used to be a whole lot easier to get to SEO as well than
yeah, I had somebody help me with that initially. Then I learned about that and I kind of optimized on my own. And so I knew the keywords for my niche, and I tried to put that into blog posts and into the website and all that good stuff. So yeah, that was primarily it.
So when you were starting, you were doing everything yourself. I guess a lot of new companies, new business owners who are launching an idea, one of the things they struggle with is how much should they do themselves versus how outsourcing it and finding somebody to help you with these different things.
Yeah, for me, it was a matter of budget. I think starting out, I bootstrapped, I did everything I could myself just because I had a low budget. But after I was earning enough income, then I felt more comfortable outsourcing it. And I was much more busy then too, because I was juggling all these things, all the different avenues, because I did all the work myself, besides inventory and fulfillment, which I had some people working on. I did everything myself. So I leveraged technology as much as I could to keep it all going. And
what were the first three positions you hired?
The first position I hired was my brother. I kept it in the family, and he did fulfillment for me.
Okay.
And yeah, and so I was in California and he was in Ohio, which is a good place to fulfill from, kind of in the middle of the country. And then I hired somebody for inventory. And then it was just the three of us for a long time. And so it kept growing, from like 80,000 in year one to like 1.1 million in year four. So, yeah, and to get ranked in the top 1,000, just being the three of us, I was really proud of that because,
Yeah, that's fantastic.
I didn't know anything. I just kept learning and applying it. So that's sort of the basis of, everything I try to impart to business owners now is just to, tell them I've been on that journey, I've done everything, and I can help you move along your business, up and grow it and assist it and help it. Yeah.
So knowing what you know now, if you could go back and change anything, would there be anything that you would change?
I think what eventually led to the business sort of going downwards was like there was a rush of competition and there was a race to the bottom as far as prices go.
Mhm.
So I had no control over that. So, that was unfortunate. But, I learned so many things in that business, and it's like I said, it's the basis of what I do now. So I think that was unfortunate because I worked so hard in that business and ran it for over 10 years. And, eventually I had to walk away from it. But there are a few things here and there I would do differently, but mostly not too much. Yeah.
So what's changed now, 15 years later? So 15 plus years, I guess, since when you started. How's the marketing changed from when you launched to what's going on in 2023?
Yeah. There's so much more competition. There's so many people in e-commerce, and there's so many players in each niche. So it's ultra competitive. Ad costs are through the roof. They keep increasing. You have to pay more and more to get your ads to be effective and to get any return on them. So I think for somebody starting out now, I would suggest that you be highly unique.
Highly unique.
Highly unique, because if you're not unique, if you don't stand out from the crowd, then you're going to struggle. I think it's just so important to be unique in what you're selling, the approach that you take, the markets you're going after. I think you really have to do your homework. You can't just say, oh, I think this is a good niche. I think you really have to do your homework and determine, how many players are in it, how competitive it is, and what's it going to take to become a successful business, because it's just so more competitive than it was.
You mentioned a few things, unique in what you're selling, unique in your sales price or sales target, your funnels. Can you have some examples? Do you have something that could kind of clarify?
Well, I think I meant uniqueness in like what you're selling.
Oh, and what you're selling. Okay.
In what you're selling. Not just something that, tons of other people are selling. Maybe it's something that you develop yourself, or maybe it's something that's different in the market. I think it just has to be different than what the crowd is doing. That's what I might be unique. So maybe it's some product that you develop or something like that, just so that it stands out.
For a new company, a new business owner who's looking to get into e-commerce, do you recommend they start their own website? They start an Amazon store? Where should you even begin?
I think it can start in many places. I've had clients that started their business on Etsy, and they were really successful on Etsy. And then they came to me and said, hey, we want to be on Shopify. We want to have a website. So I built them a Shopify website. I have a client now, and they started on Amazon. And I've been helping them improve their website because they're new to e-commerce. They've been on Amazon, but Amazon does all the heavy lifting for marketing and all that kind of stuff. So I've just been helping them apply best practices to their website and improve it and stuff like that. So I think it's important that you understand that once you're in a marketplace like an Etsy or an Amazon, you don't want to depend on them because you don't control that marketplace. You don't control the rules of that marketplace. And really, they don't care about you as a seller. They care about Amazon or they care about Etsy. So,
or they care about their customer.
Yeah, or the customer, and they view the customer as their customer, it's not your customer.
Yeah.
So it's better to branch out and have your own website and have other channels and not rely on that one channel. I think, some people get stuck in that. And I think it's better to grow and have a multi-channel approach to get a multiple income streams and reaching a much more broad audience than just relying on a marketplace.
So you had mentioned Shopify a couple of times. Is that your preferred choice for e-commerce platform today?
Yeah, I've used 4 or 5 different ones over my journey. And Shopify is my preferred one. That's what I build all my client websites on. I think it's the easiest to use. It has the most apps. It has the most developers that can help you out if you need that. And I think, I've used BigCommerce and different ones, but I think Shopify is just easier to use for the common person. I often just train my clients on how to use it so that they're not dependent on me all the time. So that if they want to go and make a small change, they can do that. So I think that's important for small business owners to say, hey, I just want to edit this, and they can do it. So that's easy on Shopify.
So what do you think the future holds for e-commerce in the next 12 to 18 months?
I think, AI is taking over a lot of things, and it's starting, like I've integrated AI chatbots on one of my client sites. And it'll be interesting to see how AI integrates into the e-commerce realm as far as search or chat, or how it's going to make the website perform differently. So I think that has the potential to be very interesting. That's the main thing I'm trying to follow and get a grasp on, so that I can help my clients with that too, because I'm just seeing a lot about chat GPT and what can it do for different aspects of the work that we do. So I think that has potential to make a lot of changes in the industry.
Now, for somebody just starting out, are there any business books that you've read that you would recommend?
Yeah, I read a book early in my journey, and it's called E-Myth Mastery. And it's by Michael Gerber. And the premise of the book is about how an entrepreneur can be viewed as this heroic figure. And there's a myth about this heroic figure that knows everything and knows all. And really what it's about is about doing the work and learning things so that you have a good business. So it teaches you principles about business and how to think about business and how to think of it as not a job. And it's really a business, and you're trying to please your customers and all that stuff. So it was really kind of a mind-shifting book for me early on in my journey. So I would recommend that.
I asked this question on every podcast, and I bet that is the most recommended book. That one comes up.
Is it?
Probably,
okay, cool.
Yeah, that one comes up about 1 times out of 5. So that one's leading the pack.
Cool. Yeah.
So today you operate e-commerce growth strategies. Just curious, your experience starting business and growing it, how does that really help you relate to your clients, business owners that you work with?
Yeah, it really has, because I've been through that journey. I know what the struggles are going through, and I know, what can help them. So I think it just helps me relate to them and it gives me an idea of what to do to help them, to get along in their journey. Because, like I said, I did a lot of the work myself. So I know about fulfillment, I know about 3PLs, I know about web design, I know about advertising, I know about so many different things that a typical niche consultant doesn't know because they're a developer or they're an ad person I did all that stuff. So I'm kind of a generalist with a wide branch of knowledge. But so what I do, now with my business is I consult on doing website audits and tell people how to make their websites better, to conduct e-commerce best practices. I'll build an e-commerce website for them from scratch. I'll migrate platforms from a big commerce to a big Shopify. I do a lot of automated email setup. I'll set up OmniSend and Klaviyo for people. And a lot of business I work tend to be smaller. So it's nice to have these smaller businesses get to the next level and achieve something and get this better technology in place. So, but I also have people get onto Amazon because I've been in Amazon for a very long time. I know all the different aspects of it. So I create listings and help people get on Amazon. And then, all the different aspects of like conversion optimization, site speed, social proof, doing your reviews, all that kind of stuff.
Do you work with companies for their digital marketing?
I don't do that currently. I started to do that when I first started out my consulting business, but I felt that like that takes a lot of attention and it's ever changing. And I didn't want to focus my energies on it as much as like the other stuff, like making your website better or building good websites. So I decided to outsource that to other professionals that focus just on that because I think my clients would be better served for that.
Got it. Now, who is the ideal client? Are they having a certain problem where they're going to come to you? Or, who is that person out there? If they're listening, they should absolutely figure out how to get on a call with you.
Okay, so it's somebody who has an e-commerce site that they feel is not performing well, that could do better. Let me take a look at it. Let me give you an audit and tell me what can be done better. If you want to retheme or rebuild your e-commerce website, I know all the best practices. I'll plug in all the right Shopify apps and get you a well-built, well-designed site. And so those are my main areas of focus. But also, like I said, I can help on Amazon and migrating from other platforms. But yeah, if you need help with your site, I'm here to help. Yeah.
Great. And how can an interested listener learn more about working with you?
Okay, so you can just go to my website. It's ECOMM growth strategies.com. So ecomgrowthstrategies.com is my website and has my contact info. And just reach out and be happy to take a look and help you out.
Just curious, what happened to your baby proofing company? Did you sold it? Is it still around here today, or did it not make it?
I tried to sell it, and I didn't find any serious buyers. There's a lot of people kicking the tires, but nobody pulling the trigger. And I nursed it along as far as I could, and finally, I decided to pull the plug. So.
Yeah,
it was a painful thing to pull the plug, but I had to do it to move on. Yeah.
So the dream of e-commerce, small business is always to start a website, grow it huge, sell it, and move to a tropical island. Do you think that dream is still possible these days?
I think it's possible. I think Like I said, if you're in the right niche and have the right people in place to help you grow, you can do that. I think had I tried to sell my business earlier in my journey, then it would have sold because the revenues were so great. And so I think that was the one thing I would change. You asked that earlier. I think I would have pulled the trigger on selling it years earlier, and I would have gotten a good price for it. So I think I was just holding on too hard to it. I didn't really have an exit strategy. I thought of it as my business, and
Yeah.
I want to hold it as long as I can. But I think an exit strategy would have helped.
Well, this has been a lot of fun, Michael. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap it up today?
No, I don't think so. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, thanks for joining us. For listeners, remember, if you like this episode, please go to Apple Podcasts and leave us an honest review. And if you're looking for more information regarding e-commerce growth strategies or connecting with Michael, you will find the links in the show notes below. In addition, if you're looking for more information on growing your business, check out our podcast resource center available at podcast.makeeachclickcount.com. We have compiled all of our different past guests by show topic and include each of their contact information in case you would like more information on any of the services I've discussed during previous episodes. Well, that's it for today. Remember to stay safe, keep healthy, and happy marketing, and I'll talk to you in the next episode.